YouTube, True Crime, Tale of a Sight, and everything else today. Man. Have another bad day. I thought I'd share this video. Another deep loss in my life. And I have to pay honor to this guy real bad because he was definitely there for me a lot when I was a kid, let alone up into my teenage years and up until, the time he couldn't travel no more. But I did make a point to call him, and I got to see him this year. But his fight with cancer, which I don't know how this man got it, because he never smoked, never drank. I mean, these are the times when, these are the times, boy, that really has me hard in believing in the faith of God. Because I can tell you, man, my Uncle Doug was the most humblest, nicest. You couldn't ask for a better man. I mean, yes, he did live his life. He was 86 years old. But for him to get cancer and all that man ever did was just nothing. Did metal detecting. He worked at Publix all the way up until his retirement down in Florida, and he owned his own plane. He was in the Air Force, fought for his country. All the basic things a man is to do, and he loved my aunt all the way up until her death in 2017. He was a real, true man. And, it's a bad loss today for me. Him and my father used to always do things together. He took a real liking into my dad, of course. And when I was a kid, man, I'd like to share some stories. Even though I'm getting choked up. But, this guy, the first real meeting of this guy and my aunt was when I was about 5 years old. And they had just came down to visit, and they had a brand new, I think it was an AMC or something. One of them Jeep Cherokees, I believe it was. And he left the thing running because he was showing my father, and it was in the front of my house, of our house back in Air, Mass, 52 East Main Street. And for some apparent reason, I thought I was going to drive. So I threw that sucker in drive, and that man, boy, holy Christ, he could move back in the day. I'll tell you, that man could move. I mean, he literally threw that, I believe it was a Grand Cherokee. But that guy threw that fucking thing in park, threw me out. What are you doing? It almost went into the big pane window we had. I would say I was like, oh man, maybe 2 feet from the house with the car before he stopped it. But he could friggin' move, man. That man could walk. And I learned from him and my father, boy, when they both would walk together. I'd have to jog as a kid to keep up with him. I'd always be behind, like, what the hell, man? Where you going, right? Trying to catch up with him. Hey, wait for me. I mean, that guy could walk. You talk about people that speed walk. His regular walk was just a speed walk. And I remember the time my father had bought mopeds back in '79. and him and my Uncle Doug and my father got pulled over. And I was on the back of the one with no seat, because he had one of my mother's with the long seat, and the other one had a single seat. But due to the long seat didn't have pegs, I had to friggin' run. I was, he was already, they were already probably not even a 2-minute walk from my house. So I had to get off the bike and they made me walk home, and, they drove home. But that was something I'll never forget. And I mean, every time him and my aunt would come down, and it would always be a pleasant visit. I mean, my aunt, not so much. She was the kind of the nagging type, but, it was always pleasant. That man was the most pleasant, I want to say, but I can't get it out. Just a pleasant man. And, and I know my aunt couldn't ask for a better man. Even though she was a little bit on that tough, ragged side, but, it all meant well. All the way up to her passing in 2017, He stood by her side, boy. What a man's supposed to do. And you better wonder why people are ragging on me about being old-fashioned. Well, my father and my Uncle Doug are ones that taught me about old-fashioned. How you are to properly treat a lady. Not these days with holy man. Yeah, I do my studies, though, to keep up with the times. I do my studies. Right, today's society, not all, but a majority of it is disgustingly sickening to me. And when I look back at my uncle and my aunt, through thick and thin, that's right, they stuck it together. And then there was a time he come to my graduation. And of course there was a huge party going on across the street. And, they were all drinking stupidly, being effing idiots. Got to the point where we were having a parking dispute. Because now we pulled up after the graduation. And there's nowhere to park. But yet, some people did move, but other people's had a problem with it. And where we lived across the street from this house, and this was our street, and we all had to park in the street, a bunch of drunken assholes started running their mouths. And I'll tell you something right now, my uncle being one of the most humblest men, I never seen him ever raise his voice or temper to nobody until that day. And right, because of the fact that I was getting in a scuffle with some people, and my brother was getting in a scuffle with a cousin of his ex, girlfriend. My Uncle Doug didn't like that. And it wasn't his fault. It wasn't my brother's. I don't know. I can't say it wasn't my brother's fault, but he's the one that had the problem with him. But just because my Uncle Doug seen what was going on, he didn't know the whole story, of course, but, he just didn't like what he was seeing or hearing. And then this 6'2" guy comes out of the house. And my Uncle Doug, man, holy shit, he's about 5'11", 5'10", And I told that guy, I don't know, I think I was yelling at that guy, and then my Uncle Doug was yelling at somebody, and this guy comes, not only is he the biggest guy probably in this party, he comes out with a friggin' shovel. And literally, he was going to hit my Uncle Doug in the back of the head, man. I went up to that guy, and I grabbed that shovel. And I ripped it out of his hands and I said, you fucking even touch my uncle, I'll bash your head in with this shovel right to your fucking skull. And I shouldn't be saying this, but I should be only honoring him, but this is how my uncle was, man. And through thick and thin and through the toughest times, man, it should also be known what my uncle was too. He wasn't that much of a fighter, but he would stand his ground. But I literally put fear in that guy's freaking face, boy. Because I wasn't going to let my uncle go down like that. And he was creeping up behind him, man. I was like, oh, hell no. Because like I said, I was dealing with someone else. My brother was dealing with someone else. And whoever my uncle was yelling at the time, this guy was just sneaking around. And you think, oh, big guy, you know, no need no shovel. He had a shovel. He was inside and try and wipe us all out or something, but that didn't happen. I mean, that's just how my uncle was. So, to put past to make a good note, I mean, he got to see me graduate. He was there. He even likes to talk about the story how he was. I was in a depression mode at this time, and he just mentioned it again. He mentions it all the time when I see him, but talking about how my father brought home this great tasting pizza. He couldn't remember where it was from, but all he could remember, shit, was me grabbing one of the pizzas. You know, I guess it was some large, and I took the whole box in my room. He was like, what the? And he's not the type of man to really swear a lot. He was like, what the F? Arthur, he's like, Arthur, what the hell's he doing? Oh, yeah, you know. I'll play it off like, okay. I don't know, I was in some bad times at that time. Hell, I don't remember grabbing a whole pizza, but hell, you know, I might have grabbed something. But if he says it, yeah, I'll go with it. Sounds about right. Give me that box, man. Hey, I can't lie because I do remember eating at a party one time. Someone got a pizza and ate all the cheese off it. So drunk. Oh, this cheese tastes good. And then you hear the person in the background, where all the fucking cheese? So, I'll take it in stride. Yep, he was a damn good man. Like I said, I got to see him this year. I even showed him pictures of my aunt that I got off of an old 8mm film. And he enjoyed that very well because he would speak. You know, he really got interested in my ghost stories and telling when I did tell him over the phone how I started doing ghost hunting. And he made it the point after my aunt died, man, she came back and he was like, oh, I know it was her. And this is living proof because I don't believe my uncle. He was probably a believer, but he wasn't one of them full believers. I'm sure he had his skepticisms, but until that day I started talking about ghosts and what I was doing, and this happened to him with my aunt and a doll, mind you, that literally was one of my aunt's favorite dolls, and it made a noise or a laughing or something, and it went off. Or something was, or crying, or whatever the doll did. He said that thing kept going off, and he said, Jeannie, cut it out. My Aunt Jeannie, right? Will you stop that? And literally the doll stopped and did not do nothing no more. And then he was telling me about a dream he had. And I believe this was like in the beginning of 2020. Oh, no, sorry, 2018, because my aunt passed away in 2017. And telling me how he saw her in a dream back in the day as beautiful as she was when he met her. you know? And I actually this year showed him the pictures of my Aunt Jeannie that I had tried to take off that I could good enough off the 8mm film. He's, oh my God, and he's like, oh my, I can't believe that, and that it looks beautiful. And I showed him the one of my father and him, in a video smoking a pipe, and he's like, oh man, and full of joy he was, man. But and then I remember the times when I did go move out to New York with my mother. I was able to stop over his house and learn. Oh my God, and it's what, between him and my father, it's made me what I want to do with metal detecting. No, I've done that in the past and I gave up on it, but I've recently came across the metal detector I found, mind you, in the rubbish, and no lie, man, it's identical to the one I used to use when I was a kid. Squared box top with a small round, thing, and it works awesome. And lately I did do a couple videos of trying to do some metal detecting, and I am going to take that out and do some more, but him and my father are the ones that really got me into that. And when I went over his house one year back in 82, 83, and actually that was the first time I watched the movie, what was it? The Howling. I scared the shit out of my mom. Yeah! In my uncle and Aunt Jeannie's, Uncle Doug's house. Another thing I'll never forget, man, because I used to sit in there and look at everything he had on the wall and casings that he found from metal detecting. And it was like, holy shit. No, I wish I could have done some with him, but of course, as time went on and my father and mother split up, it just was more difficult to go visit and go out to see them. I mean, what they did do and come out and visit us was, all we could get out of them. And it was, believe me, the great time. But I wish I could have spent more time hanging around. But as time grew on, I grew my family, and, alcohol wasn't a help either. But Uncle Doug, man. Ah, shit. And I did tell him about the stuff that happened to my father, boy, and how I wasn't too happy. And, it's a shame, it's a shame. When they get up there in that age and they can't do for themselves, and you sit there watching them just withering away. But all I can say is he did live his time, and I'm glad he ain't got to see no more of this world of today, boy. Because, it's getting bad. And for him to just sit in his house and just rot away like he was, this COVID shit rotting people away, man. I'm just glad he just, he don't have to suffer this crap no more. But it's tough. I lost my father, I lost my uncle, my other uncle, now I lost this uncle. All in one friggin' year. Just trying to gather my thoughts. Oh, man. But, yep. That was the news for today, folks. Like I say, I like to share stuff like this because the good times that I did have, and I gotta have good times in my head. Everything I'm dealing with right now, boy, is just. So I gotta go back in time, and I remember everyone and everything that has happened to me just to get out of this world. I know it ain't my time yet, but, not all peaches and cream. And stuff like this comes up. Jesus, now I gotta deal with this. Fuck. But and give that moment of silence. Uncle Doug, I definitely can't wait to see you on the other side and share more stories in time with you. Like I say, my time ain't yet, but when I do get there, oh man. In the next video, everybody be safe, take care always, beware, and believe. And if you got a loved one, remember the good times, each and every minute of good times with that person. Eliminate all the bad times, remember all the good times, and that's all I got to say, folks. Because that's right. Here today could be gone tomorrow. And at least I can say I did share some good times with my uncle. And I'm glad I got to see him before he passed this year, so. Out.